Hey everyone, and welcome. In a world that's just so full of noise, where do we even begin to look for real, lasting peace? Well, today we're going to turn to the ancient wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita for a surprisingly direct answer. We're going to unlock two specific verses that, when you put them together, they form this powerful two-step formula for a life of real tranquility and purpose. Let's dive right in.
I mean, we all want it, don't we? That deep sense of peace, that feeling of purpose in a world that is constantly pulling us in a million different directions. The Bhagavad Gita, it just gets right to the heart of this universal human struggle. And it asks the big question, what is the actual path to finding peace amidst this constant chaos of our desires? So where do we start? Well, the journey begins with the practice. The first verse we're going to look at doesn't just give us some vague philosophy. It lays out the concrete, practical conditions for peace. It tells us exactly what we need to learn to let go of. All right, so this first verse is from chapter 2, verse 71. Just listen to the original Sanskrit. Vihaya kamanya sarvan pumangs charaki nispruhaha. Nirmamo nirahankaraha sashantim adigatsati. The translation is just so incredibly direct, isn't it? It's telling us that true, genuine peace is found when we free ourselves from three very specific things that keep us tangled up and restless. So what are these three things we need to renounce? Let's break it down. First, we have to let go of that constant, endless chase for sense gratification. Second, we have to release that idea of proprietorship, that feeling of this is mine, I own this. And third, we have to shed the false ego, that mistaken idea that I am this body. According to the Gita, these three are the absolute foundation of the practice. Now, this is a really important point to get. When the verse says desirelessness, it doesn't mean we're supposed to become some kind of emotionless robot. The scriptures make it really clear that a living being can't actually be without desire. The real goal is to change the quality of our desires, to shift them away from just satisfying ourselves and towards serving a higher purpose. It's all about aligning our own will with the divine will.
Okay, so if that's the practice, then what's the destination? What's the payoff for doing all this profound inner work? What's the reward? Well, the very next verse gives us the answer. Let's take a look. We're now turning to chapter 2, verse 7. Here it is in the original Sanskrit. Esha brahmi stiti partha nainam prapya vimokhyati stitvasyam antakalepi brahma nirvanam richati.
And just listen to the promise in that translation. When you attain this state, it's the end of all confusion, the end of all bewilderment. It's a state of being that's so stable, so profound, that if you can achieve it, even in your final moments, you achieve liberation and you enter the kingdom of God. So what is this state that the verse is talking about? It's called Brahmi Sthiti, and this basically means the spiritual or godly life. It's a total shift in your consciousness, a state where you're truly liberated from the bonds and the activities of the material world. And this leads to the ultimate goal, Brahma Nirvana. Now, you might have heard this term before, but the way the Gita defines it is really specific. It's not about becoming a void or some kind of emptiness. No, it's the end of the materialistic way of life, which then allows for actual life, spiritual life, to truly begin. It's about entering the kingdom of God. And here is one of the most hopeful, most beautiful messages in this whole teaching. You don't need millions of lifetimes to get here. The commentaries explain that this state can be attained literally within a second. It's all about pure acceptance and surrender. The story of King Hatfanga is a perfect example. He's said to have reached this state just moments before his death, simply by surrendering completely. So when you put these two verses together, side by side, what you get is a complete and incredibly powerful map. It's a clear path leading from where we are now to a state of ultimate liberation and peace. So let's just recap this two-step path, because it's so beautifully simple. Step 1 is the practice, which we got from verse 71. You actively work to let go of selfish desires, that sense of ownership, and the false ego. Then comes step 2, the destination, from verse 72. By succeeding in that practice, you attain the divine state of Brahmi Sthiti and ultimately achieve Brahma Nirvana, entering the spiritual kingdom. It's a journey from action to attainment. This kind of clear, profound knowledge is really what we are dedicated to sharing. So before we wrap up, let me just take a moment to tell you a little bit about the channel that brings you these teachings. Thank you so much for watching. Gyan Kosh is a multilingual channel where we get to share spiritual wisdom in English, Hindi, Marathi, Tamil, Gujarati, and Bengali, and we've got more major languages coming very soon.
You see, our goal is to bring you the timeless treasures of Sanatan Dharma in a way that's simple, clear, and really meaningful. On our channel, you're going to find daily videos on things like Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, Lalita Sahasranamam, Devathan Choral, the great saints of Maharashtra and Bengal, and the story of Adi Sankara, and it's all available in multiple languages.
So if you find this content valuable, please subscribe to Gyan Kosh. That way, you'll get notified about our daily videos. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and spread this divine knowledge with your family, your friends, and your community. Let's work together to keep the light of Sanatan Dharma shining bright. I want to leave you with one final thought to reflect on. As you think about this path to peace, which of those 3 renunciations, letting go of selfish desire, letting go of the sense of ownership, or letting go of the false ego, which one feels like the biggest challenge for you right now in your life? Thank you so much for joining us.